Hey, everybody. Welcome back, and thanks, everyone, to those who joined us for our NFL preview last night. This is once again more Oakland news, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce at-large candidate for 2020, this man, Derreck Johnson. Derreck, welcome to Zinni 62 Live. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And Zinni, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure and honor to have you as well. Hey, tell my folks about who you are and what the aha moment was that said to you, I'm going to run.
Okay, well, let's start first. Let me introduce myself. I'm going to go on and intro, and then I'll go into why I decided to run, if that's okay with you.
You're the boss, absolutely.
No, I'm not the boss yet. I'm working on it. And then I got to talk to you about that NFL football. I missed that last night.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm a football fanatic. I'm still a Raider fan.
I'm
a diehard. I'm born and raised in Oakland. But, these are some uniquely challenging times, Zinni. People are scared. People are out of work, sick and dying. And at the same time, we've been given this historic chance to finally get closer to our goal of achieving true racial and social justice for all. I'm running for Oakland City Council at large because I believe this unique moment demands a different kind of leader. I believe we need a council member at large who understands the struggles of the most vulnerable in our community, and I understand that all too well. I was born and raised in the West Oakland Acorn housing projects by a single mom that worked 3 jobs just so that I can make it. We also need someone that has a proven ability to transform lives and those who need it most, and I'm ready to help lead Oakland's recovery from this COVID-19 and then tackle the many challenges that we faced in our community for far too long. As I mentioned earlier, I was raised in Acorn housing projects by a single mom that worked 3 jobs just so I can make it. I saw people rise from poverty and make it in the most inspiring ways, which actually is my exposure and wanted me to be successful looking at these individuals. And I've also saw people fall in the most tragic ways. Thanks to a strong extended family, I was able to go to college, attend HBCU, and then back to my hometown, eager to make a difference in the community that made me who I am. I opened the Home of Chicken and Waffles restaurants in Oakland, Jack Square. It would become a pillar of this community. And while I've created jobs for hundreds of Oaklanders over the years, I'm most proud of the fact that at one time or another, up to 70% of my employees are formerly incarcerated, folks who nobody had given a second chance to before. And I'm finding nothing more rewarding and inspiring than helping someone turn their life around. The biggest reward for me is watching someone grab their first check, first legal check, first car, first apartment, just really making a difference in someone's life. I'm very proud of the fact that that business has been able to do that. Now I'm ready to go to City Hall and help lead the COVID-19 recovery that leaves nobody behind. And I'm ready to move us forward on racial and social and environmental justice. I've also served Oakland from many perspectives, helping nonprofits, foundations, and the city itself reduce violence, implement job training programs, and provide educational opportunities for low-income youth. I was honored to receive the city's humanitarian award for this work. I'm honored to be endorsed by our next vice president and our homegirl, Senator Kamala Harris, State Controller Betty Yee, Assembly Member Buffy Wicks. I just got a Supervisor Nate Miley's endorsement. That just came through today. I'm very happy about that. Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, State Board of Equalization Chair Malia Cohen, Stockton Mayor Michael Tubbs, BART Board President Latifah Simon, and many other community and faith-based leaders in this city. You asked me what was that aha moment for me. There was a couple of things. One, the Oakland that I grew up in has definitely changed. And, some of the changes are for the positive, and we see all this development, and that's great because we need development. That's what will help the housing, situation, because that's really a supply and demand issue. But more so the homeless population is very disturbing for me to see 80% African-American, people out on the street, displaced, or for whatever the reasons are. It's just, it breaks my heart. And as, a son of Oakland, as an African-American male that was raised right here in this city, I just think that we need to do a better job, and we need people to step up to the plate, and I'm willing to do that to eliminate this problem. We have to get the homeless off the street. We need to look at dissecting that population and those that are the easiest to house and maybe just got displaced but are still working. I deal with that population quite often. I talk to them, people living in their cars. We work with organizations like Building Futures to get these people in some housing. We also need to divert, and I'm surprised that the current council hasn't voted on using some of the affordable trust fund money that we have, affordable housing trust fund, which constantly gets fed, inserted and injected capital, use a percentage of that to divert to the organizations like Building Futures and Keep Oakland Housed to get those that can be placed in housing, get them placed. And then we need to work with Kimmy Watkins as our public health director, who I actually went to high school with. I'm very good friends with, been knowing her for a very long time. And I want to lean on that relationship and resolve, those that need the mental and the health services. I was just doing some canvassing at the farmers market at Grand Avenue, and I spoke to a couple that was homeless and placed in the temporary shelters. And it was interesting to me just having the conversation with them that, they feel safer out on the street than they do in what the city has organized to place. Now, I commend the city because we do need to have some kind of shelter for individuals, even if it's temporary until we can find a more permanent solution. But there's no wraparound services. And I experienced that down at the Jack London Inn. These people have vouchers, yet the crime is going up in that area. The sex trafficking is bad. The drug, dealing is bad. And so, those are things we have to look at. That when we actually find housing, then we need to also have the wraparound and social services that we need in our community to help these individuals. So that's the main reason why I decided to run. And then there's other things, COVID, I feel we need a business mind on that seat. I'm more of a fact and statistical type of person as opposed to so much ideology. Ideology is great, and it is innovative ways that you create, and it's innovative. But at the same time, when you're leading and you're governing, you really have to look at the statistics and the facts and write your ordinances based on that and make sure that it's not really hurting one population and just overly benefiting another. So I'm here, Derreck Johnson. I'm running for 2020 City Council at large. I'm born and raised here. I'm invested in this city. I love this city. It is, like I said, made me who I am, and I know I can make a difference.
I'm so curious. Was there something that happened where you just said, dang it, that's it? I mean, was it like city encounter, traffic light that didn't work right? Was it something that happened that was just what one might in the movie world call a plot point, where you just said, all right, that's it, I'm running? As opposed to, because a lot of people have the idea of running, say, I'm going to run, right? But
no, I actually have never had any political aspirations. I've been involved, for years, I've been involved with the city. My restaurant employs those individuals from the city and from the most vulnerable communities. I've worked with Maryland, Washington, with the Gaddafi Washington Foundation, and we responded to those that were killed by violent crimes. We respond to those families and really go counsel the families not to retaliate so that we just have more violent crimes. I've worked with the Oakland City with a Safety Impact Committee. I've also been on the Oakland Workforce Development Board. I'm still a member of that. And just the inefficiencies that I've ran across in being on several of these organizations, I feel that we just need a business-minded person that can help. Was there an aha moment?
Yeah, like there's something.
The aha moment for me was like driving down Martin Luther King.
4 in the morning, something like that,
Yeah, driving down Martin Luther King and seeing the homeless population and talking to them and taking them food really just made me very uncomfortable. And it made me uncomfortable to the point where I started to have the conversation with individuals, other business leaders, other business owners in the city, and trying to figure out what can we do as a unit. And out of those conversations, we start talking about other issues, all these Tenant Protection Acts. And don't get me wrong, I believe we have to have tenant protections. Over 60% of Oaklanders are tenants, so we have to protect them. However, you can't strip the landlord of all the power, because that's going to be an imbalance. And so when I started just going over some of the ordinances on top of the homeless situation, I just decided, you know what? And after talking to my group, they were like, no, you should run. I was like, well, wait a minute, nobody's running. Who do we support? Who's out there in the political world that's young, that has the energy, that's just ready to do this? And so it fell on my shoulders. And at this moment in time, I accepted the challenge and the call.
When I think of business owners in Oakland, I think people who are very involved and making sure that they get money to make sure their people are employed. From your unique perspective, give us a picture, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, what you're facing out there as a business owner in Oakland?
As a business owner in Oakland, we're facing a big question mark of the unknown right now. I mean, with a lot of these programs that the federal government has set up about to have expired or about to expire, and I think there's some coming down the pipelines. I think there needs to be a national, which is the issue, a national strategy on how to just save and retain our businesses, especially the African American businesses. We're losing our businesses at 47% as compared to 17% to our white counterparts. So the disparities, COVID is definitely exposing those. When it comes to small businesses like mine, I put my life savings, my family's has contributed. So it's more than just closing a business. You actually close the hope of the future for individuals, because we have invested our time and our money in providing a product and a service that we wanted to have for generations to come. And now that's really being challenged big time. I think we need to definitely sit down locally with the banks locally, and that's where the city and the state and our federal representatives, we need to lean on them and really work together to find a solution, because at the end of the day, over 60% of Oaklanders live, our tenants, but also over 60% of Oaklanders work for small businesses. So we have to keep that our small businesses going.
What kind of, when you take office, I should say, if you were to win,
yes,
what would be your task, job one? The first thing that you would do?
Oh, the first thing I would do is, that's changed, because the first thing I usually say is I'm going to, grab everybody together and we're going to figure out how to deal with this homelessness. But I think my first responsibility is to really bring the council together and unite them. I think I need to work with each council member, have meetings with each council members, those that I don't know well and those that I do know very well. And we need to align ourselves with a strategy. What's the best overall strategy for the city as a whole, instead of there being these subgroups? There's only 8 people on council, right? So why there needs to be a subgroup within that 8 people, I'm not on the council, so I can't answer that. It just seems like there's not cohesive team, and teamwork makes the dream work, right? And so I want to make the dream work.
I got to ask you, that's a explosive comment. Are you pointing to the group of 5, or can you elaborate on what you mean?
I just know that there's an equity caucus within the current council, and no disrespect to any of the current council people, because anyone that's doing this job, hopefully you're doing it because it's a very hard job to do, or doing it because their heart is in it, their mind is in it, and they want to make a difference. But it is managing people. People, we have different personalities and different ideologies, but I think we should all come together because that's what our job is. Our job is not to lead from a bias or a personal standpoint. Our job is to get in that office, really engage with the constituents in this city, and make sure that we lead from a non-biased standpoint, period. And we're representative of what the people want. And that's the main thing, not just some small special interest group.
What should we do about the police department from your perspective?
Okay. Policing. Well, policing has gotten a very negative, that word is very negative. So I kind of refer to as law enforcement. And we need to do 3 things. We need to, first and foremost, I am a stone believer and supporter of former President Obama's 21st century policing policies, which our current president is defunding and dismantled. And that's why I don't like the word defunding, because I think when you say defunding, people think about dismantling. There's not really an education behind what that really means. For me, we need to do 3 things. We need to reconstruct our police department. We have the 8 can't wait. I know that Oakland is working on 3 that they didn't score too highly on, which are the body cams, shooting and moving vehicles. Excuse me. And oh my God, the 3rd one is slipping my mind. It's the body cams, shooting and moving vehicles, and strongholds and strangleholds. They're working on that. So we definitely need to reconstruct our police department. We need to reform the police department. Police should not be social workers. We need to divert those funds over to community-based organizations that have the education, the training to de-escalate those type of situations. And then we need to reimagine what policing is looking like. You know, the midnight basketball is great. We need to regain trust in our community and OPD. That's been broken and we need to gain it back. And the way we do that is by engaging the community. There's this program in Chicago that's My Block, My Hood, My City, where you have young teenagers, and this is their job. They get stipends, and they take new recruits before they've been matriculated into and finish the academy. They take new recruits out into the neighborhoods that are the most vulnerable. So here would be Deep East Oakland, West Oakland, wherever there's a lot of violence activities, those beats. And they walk the beats and get to know the people and talk to the youngsters in those neighborhoods and, and seniors in the neighborhoods and just the community. Coffee with a cop is a really good situation. I know that's done up in the hills. Why can't that be done in the flatlands? Be hot chocolate with a cop, lemonade with a cop, whatever it is. But we need to engage law enforcement with our community. And I think with that, over time, we can build it. But we definitely have to change the culture of policing. And we really have to look at the training and the recruitment process. I firmly believe that if we recruit more African-American and brown, Latino brothers and sisters from the neighborhoods in which they're sworn in to protect and serve, we'll have better results.
I want to take this time now to ask you about this because this has been bugging the crap out of me. Sure. As because I was screaming about it when we met. And this is Susan Manheimer, the interim police chief, responded to an Oakland police resident who posted on Facebook this photograph of this police officer wearing a Hawaiian shirt of a style that is akin to what the Boogaloo Boys commonly wear. Now, I think personally this is something that should be investigated. So do a number of residents who raised the issue before I saw it, and I simply amplified it. So it turned out Police Chief Manheimer, I reached out to OPD Media, but Police Chief Manheimer was contacted by a resident who basically explained to her, to explain what was going on. And Manheimer wrote back in this email that thank you for your email inquiry, and that while Hawaiian shirts or palm trees may be worn by members of different groups, they're also worn and sold universally. And she says was a big sale on at Macy's as she was shopping and saw many diverse individuals purchasing and wearing the Hawaiian attire made famous by Tommy Bahama, including her dress today. So basically she went on in text and belittled the whole concern, where she started the email by writing, "Thank you for your email inquiry questioning whether an officer wearing a Hawaiian shirt is an extremist who is sure to be investigated." And she went on to say, I should have photographed the cashier in line, which I saw many racially diverse individuals waiting to purchase these shirts. I just thought it'd be intrusive. And she said she copied the email to herself, to her police commission, so that they could be aware of the issue and that there is universal appeal of Hawaiian attire and it is not colored by one specifically aligned extremist group. She wrote all of this in spite of the fact that I actually left out the part of the email where she admitted that she read my blog post, but in spite of the fact that this is a known attire by the Boogaloo Boys. All anyone has to do is type Boogaloo Boys and Hawaiian shirts in Google, and they can see the number of news organizations, including the Wall Street Journal, that have written about this connection. Talk me down from the ledge. Why is it that I think she needs to resign? All right? Because I'm here in Georgia. We've got a situation, and everybody's aware of, where it seems like there is a white supremacist element in law enforcement around the country. And we have this symbol in Oakland. You would think somebody would be interested in just rooting this out right now. Instead, we get this. What's going on?
Well, I can't speak for the chief. I think you would need to have a conversation with her on that. I can speak from my standpoint and what I would do if I was in a position to take action. And we're in a position because we're citizens of Oakland. I'm not a politician. I'm a third generation Oakland community leader who loves our city and is ready to help change. I feel that the response doesn't address the underlining message and the subliminal message that's sent by an officer wearing a shirt that is known by a group of individuals that cause hate crimes and terror and fear with another group, African American community or people of color. So I personally feel that if you are a cop, a police officer, you have a uniform, you should be in uniform. If you're an undercover police officer, then be undercover, but you definitely should not wear any type of clothing. And this is just my personal opinion. Any type of clothing that associates you with any type of group that inflicts and enacts race crimes or hate crimes, rather. I think it's very insensitive because you have a group of people, when they see that shirt, what their thought process is hate and hate against them. So that's where the social, that incident alone is just where the in-depth racial bias and just cultural training needs to happen in our police departments all over the country, and especially here in Oakland. So I would like to see that, it's great that the chief did respond. However, I don't think the response just really goes deep enough with the underlining message of what that shirt represents. And I think that's where the conversation needs to be had. We also need to hold that officer accountable. Maybe there's some conversation needs to be had with that person. Maybe he was just wearing a Hawaiian shirt and just really had no clue on what that meant or, what was going on. But whatever the case may be, my style of leadership would be to definitely investigate and then hold those people accountable and then bring them to the table to have a conversation, especially with those people that have responded and those constituents from the community that are very upset by this. They're owed an explanation, much more than what was just given.
And just to bring home the point too, the photograph that the chief posted of Hawaiian shirts was not of the style that the Boogaloo Boys commonly wear, and yet the officer had a style that was more like what the Boogaloo Boys commonly wear.
Right.
And it's like she just was trying to brush it off. In fact, let me, before we close out this part of our conversation, but just for somebody who might try to mischaracterize this, let me post exactly what I'm talking about here. Here's the share screen right there. And you see, that is quite different than what she had presented in her, talking about the chief, in her email letter. And the photograph that she presented, which actually is here. And you can see by comparison, as I swap out the URLs, this is what's coming up here in opening, and I'll have to scroll down once it opens. But that's the shirt that he wore, right? And then yet, these are the shirts she points to. There's no obvious similarity between the two. So it's very alarming to me, and I'm glad that you agreed for me to ask you this question and take time, because I was extremely disturbed.
Well, I think what we need to do with situations like that is, like, we have an unwavering commitment and to tear down systems of oppression. That we owe it to ourselves. We must engage in honest discussions about systematic racism and how we dismantle those systems in government organizations, like you're just speaking of. What someone feels is not offensive, they haven't culturally or generationally experienced the types of racism and types of symbols and symbolic oppressions that have been put out there that hold and oppress people that are Black and brown down. We need to bring everyone to the table, discuss the topics that are outside of many people's comfort zones, and have an open mind, be respectful. Listen is very important. Listening, when you have these kind of conversations, everybody wants to talk. No one wants to listen. You have to listen to everybody. You have to listen to people. If we're ever going to actually address these deeply rooted systematic issues and create real change. We need to tackle these issues locally and uniquely in Oakland way, in diverse and progressive city, and uniquely positioned to show the nation, how it's done. But this one situation right here could be the start. Let's engage and have that conversation, because what's not important or what doesn't seem offensive to one individual does not mean that it's not offensive to a whole population of others. And I think that's the point that we need to bring out.
Shifting gears to something, when you're out there talking to people, you're handing out, you're actually also, I want to thank you for wearing the Keep It Oakland shirt that was given to me by Chris and Ann of Farley's East.
Yes.
Aside from the fact that it's a cool ass shirt, we really need to keep it to Oakland. And so I just want to point that out.
I love it. I almost wore it today, but I wear it on every.
Yeah. So anyway, but what are you hearing out there talking to people? What are they talking to you about on the streets?
Everyone has the same concerns, really. Safety. People want safety. They want safety now. And this is from the Flatlands. African American women in particular don't want police dismantled. They want reform. They want more community policing, more community events where we can trust the police. Only 7% of OPD live in Oakland. I feel that's way too low. We need to increase that. If people live in the city in which they serve and protect, then they'll treat it differently. So that homeless is on everyone's list. I mean, it's gotten to be, we're in a pandemic, and that's an epidemic. Our homeless situation is just gotten out of control. And then affordable housing. People want to make sure that they can live here for generations to come. And that's an issue. And then COVID-19, people are scared. People don't know. I hear businesses closing every day. I'm a small business owner. I don't. We've been surviving because of the World Central Kitchen, but I hear that's to expire soon, and I don't really know. How we're gonna really without that. Yeah. So I just feel we have to come together. You mentioned Chris from Farley's, and I started the Oakland Indie Alliance with them. We were the founding members of an organization that now has 300 small businesses in Oakland as members. It was 7 of us that started it, and what we've accomplished over the years with that one small little group that came together, 7 of us years ago, to where it is now, is just an example of how resilient we are here in Oakland and how resilient we can survive and get through this, but we have to do it together.
Now, shifting gears and talking about sports, what should we do about the A's? Should they be at Howard Terminal or the Coliseum? What say you?
I say I want to keep the A's in Oakland. And I feel that the Coliseum deal should go to bid. It should not have been a backdoor deal or anything that's not legal. I'm not supportive of. So that land should be put out to bid, and it's public land, and there needs to be a specific plan that's going to generate the economy in D7, which has been overlooked for far too long. Building the stadium at Howard Terminal, as long as we're not displacing any workers, that's a great option as well. I just want to keep the A's in Oakland. I don't feel we should lose a third and final professional sports team. I need this message is very personal to me. My business is down 20 to 25%. It has nothing to do with COVID, before COVID, just by not having the Warriors here. I can imagine what this is going to look like this year when I do comps with the Raiders not being here and the Warriors not being here. So not having the A's will definitely affect our local economy and local businesses. And, a lot of us are depending on that revenue that the fan base brings in. It brings in a lot.
How do you feel about the Raiders going to Las Vegas and the Warriors
I'm
leaving?
not happy about it, but they're gone now. So you just have to live. I'm a reality person, so I'm just a Las Vegas Raider fan. They're still Oakland Raiders to me. I've been going to the Raider games since I was a kid. My mother and I used to go to the Coliseum. that was our outlet. She worked those 3 jobs, but she definitely made sure she bought some season tickets, and we were in section 114, every Sunday that there was a home game.
Who's your favorite Raider?
Oh, okay. The Snake, Stabler.
Way back to number 12.
Yes, number 12. And Cliff Branch. Between Stabler and Cliff Branch that's tight.
Yeah. Rest in peace to both.
Yeah.
That's something else. Hey, what is it that when the people think about you and your run, what do you want them to think about first?
Oh, I want them to think that I'm going to lead with Oakland values and my values and integrity, how I was raised from a single mom. I'll put Oakland first. I've always hired Oakland first. I think we should continue to hire Oakland first in our developments and in any businesses that we have. I'm humble. I will listen to all sides. I'll leave my ego at the door, and I embrace new levels of collaboration that haven't been seen before. And everyone must be heard. People are hurting, so we need to listen to people. Not do everything possible, no gimmicks, no political stunts, no grandstanding. We need competent and steady leadership that follows through on our commitments. And then we need to really unleash Oakland's creative spirit. We have a diverse and innovative city. We can find new and creative solutions to this unprecedented challenge. And just know that I am, if you really want a city that the population of homelessness is growing and that illegal dumping is growing and, we're being displaced in African-American and brown communities at an alarming rate, then the incumbent is the way to go. If you really want to change and see these things move in another direction, then I'm definitely the person for that.
Wow, that's right between the eyes. Hey, one other question.
I am from West Oakland, so it's no holding back. Yeah.
Wait, where'd you go to high school?
Bishop O'Dowd.
Where'd you go to high school?
Bishop O'Dowd.
Say it one more time. You went to high school where?
Bishop O'Dowd in Oakland.
Skyline. Just remember that.
Well, I was hurt because I really wanted to go to McClymonds. That's where my grandparents, my grandfather and all my uncles went. My mom and my grandmother and my aunts all went to Oakland Tech. And my mother was like, oh, yeah, no, you're going to O'Dowd. I was like, okay.
Some quick feedback from you. How is the city addressing the pandemic in your review?
I think the city is doing, I'm on the Oakland Recovery Council, which is a COVID-19, task force that is trying to come up with solutions for this pandemic. It's been very engaging. The city has reached out to local business on all levels and community leaders, and the conversations have been great. We have some strategic plans that we're lining up. And I mean, it's going to be hard, but we're going to get through this.
Derreck, also tell them how to contact you if they want to help you out.
Yes. Well, I urge everyone to please check me out. My website is www.johnsonforoakland.com. I would love your support. The maximum donation is up to $900 per person, but any amount, 20, 10, 15 will work. We are about to start this real aggressive advertising campaign. I am not really known in the political world. I'm known for owning the home of Chicken and Waffles, my restaurant in Jack London, which has provided hundreds and hundreds of jobs for Oakland residents and those that are formerly incarcerated. So if you really want to make some change from somebody that really, really cares about this city, deep down in my heart, you will definitely vote for me. I need that vote.
Hey, Derreck, we're going to have you back too. Thanks a lot, man. And hey, stay on the backstage. Folks, we'll be back later. We'll talk more NFL football. I'm in preparation for the Texans meeting up with the Texans meeting up with the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. This is Zenny 62. It's going to be an awesome game. Zenny 62 on YouTube and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. You